without further ado, everyone, please give a round of applause to the artist, Mr. Mark Owens.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. As you all know, my name is Mark Owens. I'm the artist and founder of the New Movement Gallery. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. And the mission of the New Movement Gallery is to bring awareness to mental health and to protect your inner peace and to inspire others to stay creative. And in honor of the Poetry Month, I would like to recite a poem by my late grandfather. It's called The Name of the Game. Pass it on, that's the name of the game. 'Twas passed on to me in 22, and many years later I passed it on to you. Although twice I've passed it on, it'll remain with me even after I pass on. I've always shared it with my mate, and you will do the same. But the time has come for you, my son, to pass it on. That's the name of the game. Use it, but don't abuse it. Sometimes that's hard to do, but when you recall where it's been, who passed it on to you, who passed it on to him, and the mates who have shared it through thick and thin, you'll give it more honor, more glory, and more fame. As you pass it on, that's the name of the game. All blessings come from above, health, wisdom, compassion, and love. But when your child inherits a name, only you can pass it on. That's the name of the game. By Daniel E. Owens. Right now, I just want to introduce the pieces we'll be discussing today. It's titled The Three Kings. Right now, if we could show those pictures, those paintings, and the floor can be open to open interpretation, what you see, and then we'll discuss the meaning behind the series. This is one of the kings. As you can see, the headpiece is the crown above the head, the jewels in the crowns, and you might notice the stitching on the face, the bow tie, and the tuxedo.
If you have a moment, everyone in the comments, jot down what's the first thing that comes to mind when you're looking at Mr. Owens. And this is threefold, but this is the first one. But I wanted to make sure you all got the entire picture of each one, but this is the first one. But jot down in the chat now, if you will, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at this first piece? And I'm about to put up the second one and the third. First thing that comes to mind, how would you interpret this? How is this intersecting, connecting, perhaps in conversation with Rogerian compromising? Our identities, our roots. Okay. All right, and feel free to take if you need to, for a mental note, a screenshot of it before we move to the second one. Let me move the second one. And Mr. Owens actually has it behind him up as well, but let me go ahead and put the next one. Okay. Okay, can everyone see the next one? Is the next one showing also, Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Okay, is this a different one or is that the same?
Okay, again, you'll see, this is a different one.
Okay.
The same with this one, the crown above the head and the stitching on the face, the bow tie and the tuxedo, also the ripped arms.
What is that inside of the mouth, Mr. Owens?
I'm glad you said that. That is a razor blade on the inside of the mouth, and I'll discuss that when we go into the interpretations.
Okay. Everybody got a good view of this one. Make sure you post in the chat thoughts, first impression that comes to mind. Okay. All right. And I'm an empath, so I definitely, this one, I'm feeling something going on. art is very powerful. It's very spiritual. It's very connected. I'm something about this one. All right. Let's look at the final one. Is it, let me make sure. Is this the right one coming up on the share screen?
That's it.
All right.
Yes.
Here's the final one.
Yes. This one is the last king that I did. And to me, this was a younger king. And you can also see the crown above the head and the stitching in the face. Also the tuxedo and bow tie on this one.
Now, when in the young king's mouth, is that
on the side? The X on the side is like a stitch, okay. And I'll get into that on the interpretation too. Like okay. On the other one, it was a razor blade in the mouth, and this one has a stitch on the mouth. Those all come into play in the interpretation.
All right.
Yes.
Everybody got that? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share on that. And again, take note, because in the back you see the three kings as well, in the back of Mr. Owens as well. All right. Okay. All right. And the chat.
Okay.
Good.
Now that we've done that. All right, now we can go into the interpretation of the three kings. All right, now the three kings are stitched together. The faces are stitched together, and you see the crowns, you see the bow ties. Well, we come from Africa, and as kings and queens, we were ripped from Africa. We were torn apart. We were torn of our culture, our religion, from our families. And so the stitching is putting ourselves back together. The resilience of Black people, stitching ourselves back together, coming together, unifying, the compromise of going through this for hundreds of years and having to put ourselves back together to become successful. And the bow tie is Black excellence. The tuxedo is Black excellence. Like, look how far we've come. The razor blade in the one king's mouth is, symbolic of the torture we endured. Our tongues were cut out. Our mouths were sewn shut if we learned how to read and these kinds of things. Our mouths were stitched up and tongues cut out. And so we rose from the ashes and we've become so great in our culture. That's why they don't want us to teach it now, because they don't want us to know our power. So it's a compromise in that we have to be careful of our own power, and it's deeper, just like the LSU women's, congratulations to them too for winning the national title, but compromising on what you can say, like the Kyrie Irving situation, compromise on what you can say because things will be taken away from you. So being careful. Now back to the three kings, the resilience and the renaissance that comes behind the art and how far we've come is just what it's all about. And that's what the three kings resonate with me, and that's the meaning.
Wow. Very, very profound, very, very profound indeed. And I see in the chat also, just really quickly, Tatiana, Bria, and Heaven mentioned Tatiana, and feel free to unmute yourself, Tatiana, Bria, Heaven, on your feedback as well. Would you like to elaborate on what you were saying, Tatiana, about the figure looking a little distraught and Bria accepting differences, and Heaven, you're saying you're thinking of assimilation to society?
Yeah, I can explain mine just based on their facial expressions. Like everyone's eyes are like wide, so that's why I just thought that they looked a little confused, maybe like surprised.
All right.
Exactly. I would say so. I would say so too. That surprise and shock that you might be seeing just comes from, we were just in Africa, we had our culture, we had our religion, we were torn from this. So it is a confusing feeling to not really know what's going on and why you're being treated like that. Even now, we are confused, like, why is it so much systematic racism? Why is it so much still after all we've gone through? So you're right, that is a correct interpretation of the eyes.
Mm-hmm. Very good analysis. Go
Any
ahead.
more questions or thoughts?
Yes, some of the they all have different like scars or stitching and patterns. I think those can kind of
Yes.
represent the different stories they have to share and things they've gone through.
Yes, for sure. Yes, indeed. You know, many stories of the torture that we endured, the rape of the men and women, like our limbs were literally torn from our bodies by dogs. Like we were really torn apart and tortured. That goes into the stitches on the arms or the face or the body. And I think the middle painting had a lot of like patches on it. As for the holes and the burns that we endured, it was just so much torture that that these kings represent.
Very powerful. I know, reminds me in Baltimore, Maryland, just an hour north from here in Washington, D.C. at Howard University, they have the Blacks and Wax Museum. And it just reminds me of a horrific scene that they showed of a woman that was pregnant. She was in slavery, and they cut the baby out of her stomach, just slashed it out. Baby dropped to the ground, and they put a cat inside of her stomach, 2 cats, and they sewed the stomach back up. And the men were having a bet on which cat was going to bust out of the stomach first. Just horrible, just absolutely horrible. But that's at the Blacks and Wax. But that stitchery reminds me of that, Mr. Owens.
Exactly. There's so many stories. There's so many stories, of just the torture that we endured. That's why I love how far we've come. And it's important that we know the entire story so we can appreciate how far we've come and love one another. Like we had discussed yesterday, love is why we were put here. We were a loving people. We cared more for one another before we came here. We got back to it. And every time we gotten back to it, they put something else out there to bring us and tear us apart again, because they know it's power when we come together. So this is something that America has feared for years and years and years and tried to keep from us. So it's important that we share amongst each other and be careful with what we share and how we share, because the powers that be will do what it takes to silence that. So I think it's important that we have these open forums and we share with each other and we discuss these things and discuss solutions, and not so much the problem, but solutions that'll bring us closer together as a people, and also to inspire others to stay creative and use the arts as interpretation, as so did our ancestors with the quilting and painting and carvings, our drums. From music to art, it's just been in us for so long, and it's important for all of us to go within us and find that magic and kind of try to stay creative and woke, as we all say.
Very powerful. Any others? I saw the word assimilation in there in the chat as well. I think you mentioned the assimilation having I don't see having, she may have popped out for a second. She should come back in. But the assimilation part that had been mentioned, Mr. Owens, it reminds me of the father of Afrocentricity, Dr. Molefi Asante, is over at Temple University. And we all talk about assimilation thing, like, being able to go in and out of different cultural groups as Black people. But he argues before you can assimilate yourself, you need to know your roots, because there's a lot of people that feel as though they got to abandon their Blackness in order to fit in in America. And you do not, he argues, you have to know your roots, know who you are. So when you do assimilate going in and out of different cultural groups, you still know who you are. You're still grounded, and you can still adopt other cultures, but know your foundation and never lose sight of that. And that echoes W.E.B. Du Bois and his double consciousness theory as well. What are your thoughts about that? Because we've been doing DNA testing this semester as well and finding out our roots. And I saw you had shared your findings as well, Mr. Owens.
Yes, yes, indeed. And as we discussed yesterday, my family, my father in general, did a great job with passing on our history from like four generations, from my grandfather to great grandfather, his father. So it's always been a joy for me to know where I came from, and to see how far we've come, to know the powerful steps that my ancestors took to get me here. It made me carry myself with dignity and respect and honor their names and their legacies. So that's very important. It's very important.
Wow, very powerful. And I see Professor Maya Owens has joined us from alma mater from Spelman and Miami University, Oxford. Your sisters, is a pleasure to have you with us today as well, Professor Owens. Yes. And you also, could you elaborate a little bit also, Mr. Owens, on your art journey and how
Yes.
how the series is relevant on the basis of compromising as well, but definitely the journey, because I know many of us are very interested in that as well.
Well, my art journey began a lot younger, as many others have started at a young age. Started off with music. I started playing drums when I was 7 years old for my church. Okay. Fast forward it, I started getting into poetry, and I got into rap music and drawing in high school, and I got a record deal with Capitol Records. Me and my friend Michael Williams, we formed a group called Zarnox. We got a record deal in 2005, moved on and got national attention, and everything. And fast forward to now, this art journey pretty much started like I was telling you my story. I started off showing my girlfriend my paintings, and she was like, these are really nice. I never had shown anyone my art. I kind of kept it to myself. She was like, these are good, and I want you to paint me a painting for my birthday. I started painting. I haven't stopped since. She was like, get a name together. So in honor of my father, I named it the New Movement Gallery, was the name of his band in 1977 that he had. And I named it the New Movement Gallery in honor of him. And I have a mission to bring awareness to mental health, to inspire others to stay creative. I will be having a foundation that provides resources to those with mental health issues through the arts. And I just want to inspire others to stay creative. And as far as the Three Kings and compromise, like I mentioned earlier, there's so much compromise that goes into how we carry ourselves and how people view us. We have to be careful, and when you have power, you have to be careful using it. And knowing that we're a powerful people, compromise is very important to ensure the safety of our people, for our children also, and that you don't cause pain to others with the power. It's like the prayer of Jabez, where he asked God to expand his territory. A lot of times we have to compromise when we ask God for things and he doesn't give it to us the way we want it, and it's kind of one of those things, with the Three Kings being ripped, and the resilience that our people have to become successful and to prosper after all of this and not just dwell in it is like the most compromise you could ever have after enduring 400 years of torture and slavery. For us to not carry that chip on us every day and to be involved in society in a productive manner where we're not just bitter. It's a joy to always run into people that have joy in their heart, who want to spread love, because it's like, you know, being forgiving. Like, we want God to forgive us, and, you know, not taking that in such a dull light, but not a dull light, but not taking that like revengeful. You know what I mean? That's the biggest the greatest compromise I could have thought about with my artwork, because of what we come from. So I just believe that out of all of the people and all of the cultures, we've done the most compromising of all. I believe that to be true.
That's a powerful point as well. Reminds me of John McWhorter's book, Losing the Race, and he has a theory called victimology. We can't, like you were saying, we can't just hold on to the bitterness and use it as like the rhetoric of not doing anything in life. Some people say, "Oh, I'm already set up. You know, I'm Black, so the system's already set up against me. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm gonna just wear the cloak of bitterness for the rest of my life and not try to aspire and do anything." And we can't do that, because we got to remember, we are our ancestors, as they say, they're our ancestors' wildest dreams come true. We are those. Just think about that. We come from a lineage of ancestors that chose to survive. There were many that jumped over the ship, that said that's it, you know. And we have students from all over the world here, but we're all connected through that umbilical cord of survival. It's in the roots. You can't escape it. And you see that in your art, as well as even through the stitchery. You know, we were torn away, broken away from family, from our language, from culture, from religion, and the list goes on. But somehow, some way, we found a way to stitch back together and to continue to thrive, to survive, you know, in a world where it has been set up with invisible barriers, you know. And it continues, as you mentioned, Mr. Owens, with the systemic racism today. No one's going to come out, well, some come out, but for the most part, they're not going to come out and say, "I'm not hiring you because you're Black, or because you're a woman, or because you're part of this group or that group." But there will be systemic strategic barriers put forth together to try to stop that. But I love through the art, how you're sharing the story and sharing how we can compromise and come together. And I love that mental health piece. How has that mental health piece, how is that connected through your art, and what message are you trying to send out there for those that struggle with mental health?
Well, it means a lot to me, because I've been on a journey with mental health for some years. And I myself attend a wellness center. I speak with someone, and it means a lot to me, not only in our culture, but worldwide. It's not a man problem. It's not a woman problem. It's not a children or a child problem. This is a problem that we have all faced and had to come head up with, when we realized that we weren't in as much control as we thought when this COVID thing hit. We were forced to stay inside, deal with issues that we had bottled up for years. Now, in our culture, when it comes to mental health, it's, "Oh, he's crazy, she's crazy, she's just this and that." We just sweep it under the rug. We don't treat it. So as we know, things that stay untreated just grow. The cancer grows, it just spreads. So now you're dealing with things that haven't been talked about, that you've been holding in from a child. And, you know, this goes for our culture and everybody, because it's not a color issue either. But in our community, I would say we sweep it under the rug more. We don't, it's like, be tough. A man is supposed to take it, you know, take it on the chin and just keep going. Well, that's the worst thing you could possibly do, is just hold it inside. My sister Professor Maya Owens gave me a book when I was younger called Men Cry in the Dark.
Mm.
And it's because that's how we were raised. And that's the worst thing you can do is totally unhealthy. My mission is to like protect your mental health by any means, protect your peace, take yourself out of circles that are hurting you and put yourself into a circle that's going to help you. And you do that by being conscious and being woke of your surroundings, and, you know, get on medication if you need to, talk to somebody, you know, be around positive people. And that's very important in my life to pass this message on and to make sure that I do my part because of the things that I've seen in the health field, with how doctors treat you when you look a certain way, with how nurses treat you when you look a certain way. Don't be discouraged. You know, pray about it. Pray that you get the right doctor, because there are good doctors out there. You know, sometimes you might want to get a doctor that looks like you, to be honest. You know what I mean? And you might have more luck with that, speaking with someone. You know, I have plenty of friends that I've helped talk them down, as you might say, because it's so much more out here to life than the depression, than the anxiety, than the things you might be going through on a day-to-day basis. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's about dealing with these issues, whether it tears you down or not. I made a post on Facebook the other day that it takes pressure to make diamonds. So just think, when you're going through these tough times and these hard times, that you will persevere. Like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and to just remain faithful and keep your best foot forward. My mother says this. She says, shade the ground where you stand, per se. That just goes to say, like, you know, stay in your lane. You know what I mean? And you will get less problems, to be honest, the smaller your circle is. And a lot of times, you know, we're tricked on the social media that, you know, the likes and the follows, the numbers add up to who you are as a person. That could also cause problems with your mental health and how you see yourself. So I just want to encourage people to look within, tap into the magic that we all have within. We are made in his image. That's magic. That's love. This is power, strength. We should draw from that and deal with our problems and ask for help when we need to, and be strong when we need to. And that's the basis of my journey with the art. And art is also a outlet for me as younger, but now making sure that I put my message out there and give my art to people to interpret for themselves. It just brings joy to me that people are able to enjoy it on their own, and I'm happy about that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I know we're going to have a Q&A session as well, but I want to ask one other question, especially for those, because we have a lot of majors, you know, students going into the medical field through our medical school here, law school, definitely in the arts, communications. Can you share with us, because you have insight as well, Mr. Owens, and then I digress and turn it over to the audience. Can you share with us your experience in regards to the politics with art? Because there are some things that just won't be produced. And we've had some of even our literary giants that have spoken on the fact that there are certain art pieces, whether it's through painting, through music, and the list goes on, that just won't receive the type of attention that it needs. And sometimes there's some political ramifications behind that. And I know as a writer, that definitely happens in the publishing industry. There's certain things that just won't, some publishers just won't do it, or they'll say, no, take that out, or we're not going to publish it. And the late great Zora Neale Hurston, Harlem Renaissance writer, she even talks about that in her piece, what white publishers won't print. So, you know, and I definitely know that that taps into the art industry as well. Can you share with us a little bit about your insight with the politics of art and what's considered part of the canon and non canonical art out there?
Right. I would say that not only in the art, but the music, um, movies, television, there is definitely an agenda. It's a political agenda that um, that helps the powers that be, and to keep the people pacified and to keep them easier to control. Well, I will just put it in those type of terms. They allow certain things to come out at certain times. And you have to be careful. We all know what happens when you get out here and you start telling people the truth. They'll silence you. So this is another part of the compromise we have to do. You know, you have to be careful with what you share, when you share it, and how you share it. But as far as the politics with the art is concerned, these circles, like I told you the other day, put me in the right room. Get yourself in the right room. Even though it is political, keep climbing that ladder. You know, if one door closes, that's protection. That's God's protection. You weren't supposed to be in that room, you know? So that's how I keep a positive outlook on that. So I really don't let the politics bother me too much. I would say I play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And I know that you have to do certain things to get in these rooms, but for the most part, I know I'm on the right path. I'm in my own lane, and I feel like God is opening up these doors and windows of opportunity. This is the things that I've prayed for, and I'm not surprised when it happens. So I just leave it in God's hands as far as the politics. But I do know that you have to do the work. You have to do the footwork. You have to hustle. You have to get up early. You have to stay up late. You have to sweat over these canvases when you're painting. You have to slip. It's awkward. You know, art is like fashion. It's uncomfortable. You know, when these models are on the runway, you see this couture and somebody got a coffee table on them, and it's like, what are they doing? This is far out. That's how art is. It's fashion. It's risque. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a part of the Renaissance forever. You know, art is going to always be a direct interpretation of the far out thoughts, the real, the woke, the real, what people are afraid to say. Because with art, you don't have to say it. You could paint it and just step back and let people interpret it for what they want. And you don't have to get in trouble. You could just look and be like, you see it, you know?
Powerful, because there's some artists that have been, and you're right, because as a writer, you know, there's politics with that. There have been people that have been killed over writings, but with art and paintings, like what you're doing, like you said, it speaks for itself. The interpretations, and once it's released, once you give birth to it, you really don't have a lot of control over how it's interpreted, but it's a powerful engine to unveil a lot. That's going on in society and the world. You're right. It's a very powerful piece. And I know in higher ed and our colleges, you know, Howard University and beyond, we're starting to reach out to more people who you study about it, but I live it type of people. You know, even Felicia Rashad,
Yes.
our dean here now at Howard, because she has a plethora of experience, you know, in the acting field, in the industry, and so forth. And it was at the artist Kid and Play. I think Play is a professor in North Carolina, and a lot of times we're starting to reach out for that reason. Have you ever thought about? And I want to talk to you more about this later, Mr. Owens. But I could see you doing a class. I know, you know, as one who's been in higher ed and in different areas as department head, director, and associate provost, and so forth. There's this thing where artists and those who have been big into the industry and experience and so forth can be invited, you know, a visiting professor to teach a class or two in the university, because more of the students need people that are out there, the practitioners that are out there with hands-on experience. You know, it's one thing to have
Yes,
book smarts, which is good, and we need that. But we need that hands-on experience, knowledge, and wisdom coming in from artists like you as well.
for sure. I would definitely be interested, and that's my goal, is to get out here and to speak with as many people as possible, not just letting them see the art, but me myself explaining it, explaining my journey in detail. Like I was telling you yesterday, my musical journey has carried me far and beyond what I could have ever imagined. I had the chance to work with Kanye West. We got some production with him on our album that was released in 2005, titled That One Way. Like I say, my group name is Zarnock. It's available on all platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, all of these. But long story short, my art has allowed me to travel all over the country, meet some wonderful people, from doing music with Anthony Hamilton, Mark Ronson, Angie Stone, E40, Bun B, being on the Coach Carter soundtrack. It's just opened up so many doors. And I believe that this story should be told, and to inspire others to stay creative, and to just open up more doors, and to tear down the barriers of the stigma behind mental health, to just make it cool to seek help and not to bottle this up. And as many people as want me to speak, that's where I'll be. Wherever they need me to be, I'm just a vessel, and I'm happy I'm being used to inspire and motivate people.
That's very powerful, Mr. Owens, because we definitely need more artists like you. I know when I was department chair over at Virginia Union University, in their English department, Kanye West's mother, she graduated from there. And he had actually reached out to the university wanting to do a free concert in honor of his mother. And again, the politics of art, I couldn't believe it. They would not let him come. And I'm like, what in the world? And
Right.
I had met Talib Kweli's mother. She's an English professor as well. She's in New York still. And I believe, yeah, she was saying that he has been Kanye's mentor as well, but he teaches now as well at one of the
Right.
universities. You know, and he didn't have to go on to get his master's or a doctorate. The art speaks for itself. It's like, okay, you've paved the way. We need, you know, if people like you, or if $1 billion Oprah Winfrey wanted to do a class, come on in, Oprah. You because that's what we're looking for now. We're looking for those who have that experience. It's like, okay, you don't have a doctorate, Oprah, that's okay, but you're a billionaire. We all sitting and trying to come into your class. It's gonna be a packed house. So we definitely need more artists like you to enlighten us with the wisdom. You know, you all have the wisdom. It's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. You have the wisdom. That knowledge is coming from the books, but you have that hands-on wisdom expertise that we need. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We have like about 6 minutes or so. I like to open it up. Any questions or comments? We celebrate that, or maybe you're looking into your major and how this connects. And of course, I'm sure Mr. Owens would love to keep in contact with y'all. But any questions, comments, reflections? Let me see. We have. Looks like we're having some that came in and out. Curry, any final reflections or thoughts, questions for the artists? Constango, Davis? You can unmute yourself if you haven't muted. Any questions? Any thoughts? Okay. Davis, what's oh, okay, I see McCollum too. Any questions or comments, McCollum? Okay, maybe I see some in a, okay. I'm sorry, okay, I see one in a direct message as well. but we do greatly appreciate you. There's a question about contact. Is there a way that we can keep in contact with you, Mr. Owens? And Mr. Owens, his artwork will actually be featured on the inaugural journal that's coming out, the research journal here at Howard University as well. So we're really happy and very appreciative to showcase his art on the cover of the research journal as well. But there's a question regarding contact, how to keep in touch with you, Mr. Owens.
Yes, my email is 1473HAZAR@gmail.com. My Facebook handle is Jimmy Hayes, JIMMYHAZE. My Twitter is Jimmy Basquiat. My Instagram is Jimmy_Hayes, HAZE.
Okay. Is there a way that we can put it in the, I was trying to type it out. I got the Facebook one. Can we have, can you put it in the chat or someone, or I could also share it. I could send it out as an email to the class as well.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Awesome. And
yeah, feel free. Anybody that has any questions, if you want to take a look at my art, feel free to reach out. I love meeting new people that are lovers of the art and who just want to, you know, talk about whatever they'd like to see and in the future and anything that they might have seen. I appreciate the interest.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Owens. Everyone, if we can please give a round of applause again. Thank you, Mr. Owens.
Thank you.
Very insightful. We greatly appreciate you, and we welcome you back anytime. So thanks again, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from Mr. Owens in the near future as well here at Howard University. So
thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, likewise. And this has been recorded, so I'll be sharing it with 3 others. And there's more comments and gratitude in the chat box as well. So thank you, everyone. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to end. So other than that, any final words or reflections before we end? And maybe a word of advice before we end, Mr. Owens.
I have one last word of advice for everyone listening. It's very short and it's very sweet. Slow motion is better than no motion.
I like that. I like slow motion is better than no motion. That is powerful. Because it took a lot just to get out of the bed. Tatiana said, yes. And you felt that too, didn't you, Tatiana? I know I felt that. There's sometimes I was being in bed and I'm like, I'm not going to do it today. And it's like, no, even if it's slow, it's not a race. You got to keep going.
No.
Yes.
Keep going.
You have to keep going.
Keep going.
Felt that. Yes. Hey, Maya, you said that was kind of fire. Yeah, I think so too. That was fire. He was dropping some jewels with that one, didn't he? Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
I think we need that too, because we got about 3 more weeks and the struggle is real, Mr. Owens. People around here on campus getting real nervous. You know, the semester's getting slow motion. Going pace. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Anytime. All right, everybody. Until next time, have a great day. Thanks again, Mr. Owens.
You as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.